a lot of things we're doing may seem small to other people, but this is life or death. It's mental life or death. It's physical life or death. It's financial life or death. In some sort of essence, it is always some sort of life or death with any type of organizing work that we're doing. And so I always have taken it seriously. And I think that's something that I also had to learn is that like when people don't have the passion for it, they have to stand up, and it's okay to be a leader and move along to what it is that you are passionate about and give room to those people who can be more impactful in that way.
Welcome to Deconstructing Therapy, transforming therapy and the therapists who lead it. Let's deep dive into conversations, reshaping therapy into a powerful tool for healing, liberation, and systemic change. Join us as we challenge the status quo, reimagine care, and celebrate therapists breaking barriers. Let's transform therapy together. Today, I am so happy to introduce Hale Morissette. Hale is a social worker, community weaver, educator, activist, and abolitionist committed to radical care and collective liberation. As the founder of Life is Hale, they work at the intersection of education, activism, and wellness, supporting individuals and communities in reclaiming agency and healing from systemic oppression. With a background in social work, grassroots organizing, and transformative justice, Hale fosters spaces where healing is a communal practice rooted in love, resistance, and self-determination. Your story is so nuanced. Like you've been in like every side of mental health and organizing and activism. It's really interesting for me. I don't know the whole story. And we met through Dream Defenders. It's been a whirlwind of a year because we met like right before October 7th stuff, and we were organizing right before that. And then and it's been I've learned so much from you just working with you. But today I wanted to hear what you were before that, how you got into this field, how you kind of became a helper. You know, how did it all begin? Is this something you've always wanted to do?
You know, I believe it was something I always wanted to do. So I'll go back. I grew up in the church. My mother was like the chief of staff for our church. She grew our church from like moderately small, but they had a following to like this huge church. So I always had this like big religious upbringing. My mother was a prophetess, and it was just like very much you serve people. Like I was born and like made to like learn that it was all about serving. And even my dad's side of the family, it's always been community minded people. My grandfather did civil rights work. He was the first, he was Black History. He was the first Black supervisor over at what is now International Paper, like, and started all of these different social clubs to raise awareness. So I've always just been a part of what is it that you do to help make your community better? How do you care for your neighbors? And that's just how I was raised. So I think even going into thinking about like from middle school to high school, I started little girls clubs. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to do career-wise, which I didn't figure out till honestly close to 30. But when I was trying to figure out in high school what I want to do, I always said, well, I just want to help people, but I need to be cool. I don't know. Right. So I did like the law academy because I was like, I could do forensics things. And then I was like, I could do child psychology. Like, I want to help kids. That'd be cool. And I just went through this whole period of time where it was just about what's the best service work. Like, I don't think I ever intended to have a job where I made a whole bunch of money or anything like that. But it was just something that was like, got to make an impact. Got to carry a legacy because that's what was instilled in me. And so that brings us to not necessarily now, but before you knew, Hale. When I started doing community organizing, it was about 2014. Most people who already know me know that my story, the reason I really, really started organizing, what I had to step into is because I had children. And the alignment around that was that my oldest son was born right after Trayvon Martin was murdered. My child reminds me of Trayvon. Yesterday would have been Trayvon Martin's birthday, and he would have been 30 years old.
Okay. How does your son remind you of him?
My child was born 10 pounds and 2 feet tall. He was a big boy. And the narrative with Trayvon was always that little boy was not a little boy. He was a big man. He was a big Black man. And it was like, no, that was a baby. And my son has always had this baby face. Even that, he stole my whole face. You see, And he has this baby face. He is just like this very sweet kid, but he's huge. He's already like that. Look at me in my eye at 12 years old. It's a big deal to me, but I knew from the beginning that that's like how Black boys would be perceived. My child's just been in that realm. So it was first with him, but then what cemented it was my second child was born 2 days before the murder of Michael Brown. And I was in the hospital watching the Ferguson uprisings. I had already been in this digital space of like organizing and talking about Black lives and Black wellness and what do we do. But it was really evident to me at that point. We all know like police brutality and our modern day civil rights era has just been right there in our face. And so this was 2014. This was before like even the idea of a Trump, right before I think he came down the escalator, all of that foolishness.
But you always had the awareness, you always had that system perspective,
Always.
but then having your kid, I can't even get close to the feeling of, I look at this little baby and it's a baby to me that I can see how innocent and pure they are, but the world is looking at them with completely different eyes. I can't wrap my head around what that must be like and how to protect them like that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's been those prevalent things always in my life, even just like I'm a queer kid. You hear things, you see little things because you might pass under the radar for certain things, but just blatantly being right there, being a Black woman, a Black queer person, being a Black mom, like everything is just so right there in your face and you always have this raised anxiety. And I just took a moment to be like, I'm not gonna have this anxiety hound me all the time. As long as I'm working on it, I can feel better about it. And so that's where I pivoted and dived head first into the world of organizing and learning what that meant and that it was way more than protest. I think a lot of people look and they're like, this is just protest. And I'm like, oh baby, it gets down dirty and real out here.
Yeah, that's an awakening we all kind of have to go through. Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense though. I love how you just channeled your anxiety and that mama bear protectiveness. If I'm not going to just sit here and let the anxiety eat me alive, I'm going to channel it and dive head first. That's when you went into Dream Defenders.
Dream Defenders actually hunted me down for about 3 or 4 years before I would actually join. I just want to say I'm one of those people who don't automatically join a cult. Many people don't realize that Dream Defenders is not a cult, you guys, but many people don't realize how easily they will join a cult. I am definitely one of those people, you got to really get me. So I didn't join Dream Defenders. I watched Dream Defenders for about 4 years from that time. I remember them even coming into Pensacola and doing a visit right down the street from my house, but I had just had this baby, so I was like, I can't bring my baby out there. But I was organizing rallies and protests and talking to county commissioners and city council people and stuff at this time. Going in with Dream Defenders really happened in 2018, the end of 2018 for me. My best friend, Jamil, went to convening and he came back and said, we're going to start a Dream Defenders chapter. And I was like, all right, call me when you start membership because like, I'm not leading anything.
That didn't last long, did it?
At all. They always do this thing where they would set me up and then I end up being the leader of everything. And I'm like, I didn't want that. I didn't want to do it. But then it works out. But still, it's like, I don't want it. And then, yeah, of course, the organizer at that time was this amazing guy, also from Northwest Florida. So at this time, I was doing trauma therapy. I was a actual trauma therapist and doing crisis counseling and still organizing. They got me because they said there's a role called the Transformative Justice League. And the only person I know in Northwest Florida who has ever mentioned those words to me has been you. And I was like, this is true. Transformative justice had been my baby. I had a whole binder that outlined how we could implement those works into Pensacola and Escambia County. They try to practice restorative justice, which is taking it outside of the parameters of just sending people to jail to rehabilitative. We look at people. So with restorative justice, they mostly just look at, instead of retribution, how we can make it restorative for all of the families involved. Transformative takes it a step further. We look at how we transform the lives of the people harmed, the lives of the people who did the harming, and the lives of everyone that's connected to that community. So I'm the only, as far as I know, as of right now, I'm the only actual circle keeper in our area, like the Gulf Coast, who is a trained circle keeper to do transformative justice circles and actually help hold those people with like accountability groups and things like that. And so there is such a wide scale of how you can do this. You could do it on a community level where you have community conferencing, even down to the individualized levels where you have interpersonal harms, but also interpersonal conflict, like transformative justice is used in those types of ways. It could be strengthened. There is a lot of work to do because we are people, but I still believe in the practice widely, which is how we'll bring it back up to talk about how I got into the position I am right now.
Were you able to use that lens in the mental health space as a trauma therapist? Do you feel like the system you were in inhibited that or supported that?
At the time, the system I was working in, so I was still working as, like I said, a trauma counselor, crisis advocate. I was trying to work within that framework and that lens because I volunteered and was actually the person working in the jails and prisons with people who had harmed folks, but also had been harmed in the system. So there was people within all of this that I was actually going out of my way to work with. And some of my favorite populations to work with were the incarcerated folk that I was able to just get really deep into the work with and be able to help them establish accountability systems.
Okay. So you were always kind of doing system stuff. You were going out in communities, you're working.
Just
yeah.
been a
So
part
you've
of
never
that.
done mental health kind of in this restrictive way that I've kind of been,
Yeah. It just never worked for me. So I'll be honest, I feel like I've always been blessed to be in roles where the role that I had as a trauma therapist and crisis counselor were roles that were created for me. They weren't even necessarily there. So I've always kind of been blessed to be able to say, this is what I want to do. Let me talk to y'all about why this is important and let's see what can happen from there. And it's always just been really good transformative experiences. But I was hunted down, right, by Dream Defenders to join and be the transformative justice lead. And that was, it was great on trying to work and getting that done. But what did I end up becoming was our organizing lead.
how did that shift?
The need was there. We had a death. Someone was killed by police. His name was Tamar Crawford here in Pensacola. And I had just entered into a fellowship with Dream Defenders, actually. That was my first part-time job with Dream Defenders of just, being able to strengthen it. So we were able to grow our squad here in Pensacola. But then this tragedy happened and this family and our community was shifted so much that there was a need for me to just step deeper into the role of organizing in that capacity. And that's what I became for our local squad also. From there, I think Dream Defenders was like, oh, you're pretty dope. Like, you're really good at this and building these relationships with people. One, because I think that I do, and we could talk more about it, but I do organizing differently, I think, as opposed to how some other people may think relationship building is. And I fully believe that my background in social work and organizing early on has a lot to do with that, right? Like, I really try to build relationships with people. I don't like things to be transactional. And a lot of times, because when we're organizing in defense, it's always looking transactional instead of actually building those long-term systems of sustainability in relationships, which is what my role is. My role is for us to be sustainable outside of the government. And in my case, that's how I feel. So that's always what I've tried to build with people and with other organizations and, just being able to have that insight to how many steps does it take to really get us to this sustainability, this type of community bonding that we need.
It's really zooming out and seeing this as a long game. And you said you've always kind of had that mindset.
Yeah.
Has anything in your mindset shifted doing the work and being in it? Was there any part of it that was like, oh, thought this was a good approach or this is what it was going to be, but it turned out to be something different?
Yeah, I think organizing has been in itself like it's the greatest social experiment, to be honest. We have to try a lot of different things to see what type of outcomes we can get because we want to win and be a voice for people, but the people have to be the voice. And so I think that I've been able to be a part of a lot of, if it's impacted people, let impacted people speak and not keep looking towards we got to have one icon to do this. We got to have one to do that. In the past, I've really enjoyed taking a back seat to be able to just get people ready and to kind of like be a coach. Like I love being people's cheerleaders to talk about like what greatness they could do and what their role could be, because I love looking at the big picture and moving those chess pieces in place. Like it's the greatest thing for me. But because it's also a reality and I don't let it give me a lot of anxiety, but I still sit at the edge of my seat of believing and knowing like a lot of things we're doing may seem small to other people, but this is life or death. It's mental life or death. It's physical life or death. It's financial life or death. In some sort of essence, it is always some sort of life or death with any type of organizing work that we're doing. And so I always have taken it seriously. And I think that's something that I also had to learn is that like when people don't have the passion for it, they have to stand up and it's okay to be a leader and move along to what it is that you are passionate about and give room to those people who could be more impactful in that way. I could give an example. There was a whole document that was released that was talking about leftist organizational structures and things. And one of the things that they were talking about was that we get people that are in leadership roles within movement work sometimes. They get to a point where they just want to hold on to their role in the movement as that mighty activist, as, you know, as that mighty leader, that person who speaks powerfully, but even when their heart's not in it, exactly what we're looking at, like they do a disservice to the rest of us when they just keep trying to hold on because of the thrill of just being that mighty person. It's like you're mightier when you have come to the conclusion that like, I need to make space for someone else to like take up this space so that I could move along to what it is that I can be even mightier in.
You're mightier when you make space for somebody else. I really like
You are
that. And
so
yeah,
much mightier when you make space for other
yeah.
people.
And there seems like so many layers of humility in this growth too. Of like, oh, I have this natural leadership style. I can do this. People are inviting me into this space, but then to have that wisdom to know, where do I need to shift? Where am I better served? And I'm not the spokesperson. I'm just amplifying the people. Like you keep redirecting it to like, this is how important this is to really give people their voice, to let them know that their voice matters and refocusing it on them.
It is super important. I think that that's something that I had to learn over amount of time. And my mom used to say this all the time, rest in peace to the great one. She was amazing. But she used to talk about all the time of like, learn from other people's mistakes. Like you don't have, and so I am always watching and learning because it's true. I can take accountability. I actually thrive on always trying to make myself better. It's probably my fiance probably hates it because I'm always like, how can I love you better? What can I do? But just like in that process of always seeking that accountability and looking to try to be better and stuff, it is also looking to see how I lead with love and I stay humble and out the way and be a part of the community rather than like this example of being outside of the community. I look a lot of times at people who are like, I was the exception to the rule. And I'm like, no, we aren't necessarily exceptions. Some of us were blessed and we have to take that and make that space because there is use for our blessings with everyone else.
No, it's so important. It shows up in activism. It shows that what you're saying shows up everywhere, right? That ego or that thinking that you're going to reinvent the wheel and do everything differently and not realize people have gone through this journey before you. You can learn from their mistakes.
They've done it. They have done it.
And the stuff that you're having that is exceptional. Yeah, great gifts that you have. What's the privilege behind that? And can you see the greatness in everybody else? Like people's egos get into the way all over the place.
Yeah. And I think that's another learning that's kind of come from this is that we are going to be people, we're going to have interpersonal issues, but if we are self-proclaimed leaders or, in other ways, we really have to not necessarily say people can step all over me and I'd have to always be the bigger person and that I can be stepped all over as a mat, but we have to consistently figure out how to navigate conflict and take our ego out of the way of thinking everything is about us when conflict does arise, because it's not always. And I really just feel like we would go further in our organizing work and even in the way that we just professionally designate each other. Um, you know, if we acted in that way.
This is something I talk about a lot too, because conflict is going to happen. It's not a sign of something's wrong. It's going to happen in every relationship. It happens 2/3 of the time. You have some kind of disconnection from somebody. That's just normal. So learning how to repair them is normal. And it's going to happen more in activist spaces because you're working in such intense ways. And often the people who are driven into activism, it's because you've had some experience of feeling oppression or marginalized or something that it touches on your heart, and that's what drives you to want to do this work. But it also means you probably might have some unresolved trauma and messiness. And so we need to learn how to do that conflict resolution. Oh, any suggestions, anything you've seen work better?
Yeah. So I have, my mantra this year has been lead with love. I just think that we would have a big cultural shift if, and not that toxic positivity of like, everything's fine, everything's okay. But just the realness of anytime we do go to engage with each other, and I know this is a community agreement already, but just instilling it as a value of I can go into this already having removed myself and just showing up in kindness and in love, regardless of who I'm really dealing with, because that goes a lot further than already showing up really guarded. And it's a really intentional act because it's something really hard to do, especially if you're somebody that's just not used to being able to trust folks. I mean, I have been on the other end of some real COINTELPRO-ish type things where there have been people that have had a charge to like stay close to make sure she doesn't disrupt too much or things like that, right? But those people also have like things that they were preyed upon in order to be put in those positions. So like being a person who doesn't always have I have to just trust people, but I can at least show up in love and hear people out whenever we go into conversation with each other, whenever it's something that we're trying to do. And I may know that there's going to be something I'm going to disagree with, but how much of it is I'm disagreeing with it because of something self, or I'm disagreeing with it because it really is something that's going to impact my community on a major level. And I need to get my words across to be able to say, I'm ready to accept accountability, accept mistake, accept if I said something wrong, and just be able to be open with love on how we move forward. That's how we're going to be able to get past a lot of stuff. So that's like,
I just want to unpack a little bit about everything you just said.
Yeah.
It's so important. Every single step of what you said of how to interact with people, because it is a fine line. You don't want to just be a doormat and say, I just love and trust everybody, and that's it. You won't get your voice heard. You won't get your points across. But you don't want to be so guarded that you're attacking from a character place and pushing people away. So can I love and accept this person and show up with some respect and then disagree on where they're coming from? And then also, I need to know where my disagreement is coming from. That is so important. That work, I think a lot of people need to do and pause from what's my inner conflict? What is this touching on some wound inside of me that is also mixing with what's happening externally? Because then I'm not going to be centered. And I'm going to lose that love and respect in this argument. So can I center myself first? Can I soothe myself first? And then I can come out and disagree. And now we're just talking about what we're disagreeing about.
A lot of lessons I did not even celebrate. I usually celebrate every year that I'm still in this organizing work. I didn't even celebrate my 10 years of organizing, and it has been 10 amazing, solid years of just really learning and, relearning again, and maybe being knocked down, but having to get back up, and plenty of losses, but also plenty of wins. Another thing that I've been reflecting on too a lot is that we have gotten really far away from what it meant to organize with community and in community. And it might have been just because of the world I was in of jumping to national organizing it was an amazing experience being able to organize people all over the nation and even just being in solidarity with people internationally. A lot of us kind of left the track of what our specific communities that we live in really needed in the moment, and how we can show up the best for them. And I think that we just have greater impacts when our solidarity is linked by the many fights that we have to have within our communities right where we stand. And I think we need to get back to it. Like the best example I have for people is like the Montgomery bus boycotts is called the Montgomery bus boycott. They're not the national bus boycotts because even though with all of the communication that we have and the linkage, it is so much better to be person to person, face to face, to talk about and tell the story of why this is needed and how it can impact folks. Like trying to do these national boycotts, I fully am in agreement and will do it. And we have seen where it's worked. But in some places, when it's not targeted the right way, we just lose the track. And it's because there's nobody who also just is able to hold the hands of folks who are coming into the fight with us. We're just throwing people information and saying, let's go. And that's how we get so much extremism and just so much of everything else that's thrown at us.
And it's kind of going back to what you said in the beginning, where you're like, you have to get your ego out of it. It's not about you. And when you're doing stuff just all online and nationally, you're getting disconnected from the people that you're actually helping. So it's easy to get trapped into feeling success from just the self-serving things that you're getting from it. So that's such an important point, like just connecting on a local level, really hearing the stories. And then that way you can step back and keep amplifying the people that you're actually there to serve and help. Yeah. And probably less conflict too, because you see people as human. I think even doing Zoom meetings and stuff are bigger. There ends up being more conflictual feelings than when you're just meeting together in person and you're having dinner together and you're hanging out and then you're having the heavy discussions. It's so different.
It's way different. And I understand that we're like in a time where it's like, we need change now. We need change now. But sometimes it's like multiple people really need to be dedicated to like, what is the slowdown so that we can be thorough, we can be intentional, we can have integrity and getting the wins that we deserve as a community.
So you saw that as a shift, like when you started doing organizing 10 years ago, it was slower because social media wasn't as so crazy. And, I'm sure post-COVID too, people got more chronically online.
Post-COVID is when I really came into this, oh my gosh, like I miss meeting in person. I now understand, and even like I'm losing connections with people who I could just, at least shoot a text message. I'm thinking about you. Like it may not be received in the same way now because we're just so chronically just like online, just text message. We need more phone calls. We need more face to face and coffees.
We really do. And the younger generation doesn't even have the privilege of knowing what that was like.
No third spaces. None for them. It is school and home or school, work, home. It's work home. There's no third spaces except online. And it can be such a toxic place and just such an unsafe space. Like they need third places. And this is controversial for an organizer, but those third spaces don't always need to be another organizing meeting. It needs to be a social. It needs to be able to feel human so that and remember being connected to your community and that you are a part of it. You are not just an overseer of it.
Yes. And I don't think that should be controversial. I can see how it is, but a lot of times we're going into organizing with that same capitalistic mindset, that colonized mindset of having to grind and keep going. And we treat it like a second job, and we have the same hierarchical structures. We have the ego. You're just mirroring the same thing and you're putting a different label on it. So can you, talk a little bit about what you're doing now, how it sounds like it's integrating a lot of different pieces of this?
So if anyone knows, I always have multiple jobs, right? So I'm still DJing. Great DJ. And so, DJing on the side. But what is super, super important to me right now is two things. One is last year I started a business called Soul Step Solutions, where I've been integrating my music with doing non-clinical sessions with people. So I do listening sessions. People can just vent. But because I've done clinical things in the past, and I also am a big person on active listening, empathetic listening, and all of those things, I'm able to intern a couple of people who also can do the same work. And it's just doing what I say, I'm your home girl for a little while. We are a step past venting to your friends, but a step before going into, clinical therapy.
Does it feel more collaborative to do it that way? Does it feel like the power dynamic like really
Yeah,
lessens? Yeah, I
it
like that.
does. It does. I love it so much. I released like an affirmation book, which is so fun. And I love when people give me feedback. We released a small handbook remix of it where people do affirmations and motivational playlist with it. And it's really fun. And so a lot of stuff I do, if I see people in person, I'm shifting people from online because we started off online, but seeing people in person, I let them play with my DJ board. I have a counterpart, Lisa, who is a caterer, and she actually will make a meal for a person while they're venting to her, and they share a meal together. Um, and then my other mentee is Caroline, and Caroline does soul ceramics. She will do a ceramic session with you while you do your listening session. And it's just being able, like, we make jokes like music and food bring people together. And it's like, no, it's really serious. And also just exercising. Well, you know this clinically, exercising both parts of that brain really starts opening people up to be able to make some breakthroughs. And it's not leading them or anything. Sometimes moms just need someone that's safe to be able to say, yo, these kids, this people, like all of this is a lot. And I just need an hour safe space, or I know somebody that I can come back to and just talk this out to.
So much power and not being alone in whatever you're going through.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
love
And
adding that
so
creativity, moving different parts of your brain. That's wonderful. And then also because mental health is so, we don't have capacity right now. We're overwhelmed as an industry. So to create something like that, that's wonderful. That's such a great, because then you can tap in so many other people and just teach them how to do empathetic listening.
exactly.
It's not hard. That's
Exactly.
wonderful. I
It's
love
not
that.
hard. It's great. Still tweaking the business model because, of course, where we're at right now, can't rely on grants and stuff. But I'm doing low cost. I'm just making it happen where we just want it to be a service to folks. So that's the one thing that's so important to my heart. Getting it off the ground. We're really going, moving forward. It's been fun also. But the second thing is I am the director of operations for an organization and business called Overflow Health Alliance. Overflow is Black and queer owned. It was started by two amazing people named Marcus and Josh. And it started off as just like medical assistance. We do infectious disease treatment, prevention, and education. HIV testing, we get people on PrEP. We test for hepatitis C and we do the treatment for it. And we also we treat HIV and we do primary care. We're helping people get onto insurance. We also, so in Pensacola, what I'm running is an outreach center right now. This is all Overflow. This is all Overflow. So I'm our statewide director of operations. So I get to do all of my policies and procedures. It really gets me going. But I'm also getting to be outside with people. So all of the medical side is a big branch and part of the things we do. We make sure people get their medications, everything. But we have two different centers. So because Pensacola is home, I am every day in the office in Pensacola at our outreach center where we do meals, free meals, breakfast and lunch 3 times a week. I can't wait to expand when I get more volunteers. I need them. We also have a clothing closet. We're going to be doing business suites out of this outreach center. We have a U-Haul facility here. Like we have a lot of things going on. And what I've been telling them, I'm like, we're going to be a little piece of Wakanda in the East Side. Like we're going to be great. And so we're working and we're building, but we already have so many amazing community members. Today is actually National Black HIV and AIDS Awareness Day. So we're doing free testing. Our testing is always free anyway, but we are definitely doing free testing for everyone. And we got free food. We'll have some music and games outside. but it's just always being able to do those things that bring people together and keep wellness in our community. Now, that's Pensacola. Pensacola is growing. I'm here on the ground right now to be able to do that, do the outreach. We take the medical team outside on a bus, everything. Oh, and we're doing workforce development. But in Jacksonville, those things are already running seamlessly. We have a facility that has 300 beds in the shelter, where they have for single men, single women, and families to be able to have shelter. We are on acres of land. They have pigs out there. They're so cute. They're little piglets, but they're establishing and doing activities with the residents. They also have the medical facility. They're doing workforce development and training with children and adults. And I just am, my mind is blown away. And it's like something that I've always been one to be a part of. Like I said, it's establishing those systems and sustainability outside of what the government has to offer. We don't get a whole bunch of grants. We are getting ourselves as sustainable as possible outside of what it is to be offered and having to wait on what the current administration. What we have in Jacksonville is we do live scan. So we do live scan, which is like level 2 background checks and things like that. We have the U-Haul facility. We have other various businesses that run out of the buildings in order to keep our sustainability. And of course, our medical care is that we have a physician that does telehealth for Pensacola, but is actually on site in Jacksonville. And so we're able to build insurance and run our medical facility the way that we need to, because we're also a 340B program, which is that we're able to be compensated with the pharmacy piece of the work that we do too.
Oh, this sounds so wonderful. It's such a little microcosm of this is what we need.
This is
The
what
more
we
and more our
need.
government is not going to be reliable. This is exactly where we need to head. I love how it pulls so many pieces and the venting sessions. I mean, that's brilliant. It's like sounds so simple, and I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And just having a team of people, this is North Florida we're talking about, a place where people would probably be like, oh, it's lower Georgia, lower Alabama. They not. But we as folks here in the South know the South got something to say. And we have to like continuously build and just put the work in to get that sustainability and that work done where we are. Yeah, I have been excited every day. I'm so excited to get up and go to work. I know I don't work with Dream Defenders anymore, and that was amazing for the time period that I had with them. But it really did prepare me to step into this leadership role that I'm in now, and to be able to, I was able to really strengthen that muscle of seeing the bigger picture to make things happen. Because I mean, we were working on sustainability outside the government before the Trump administration. We knew what was coming and we set it up. And I have amazing leadership who continues to pour in me and be like, let's go, we can do this. And that's what I want for everybody. And so if we, as Overflow, just being a microcosm and an example of that, that is what I want to be able to push forward. And that's what I'm excited to be able to do with what we're doing right here.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's really giving me an image of where we need to head. Because we talk about this all the time, and you're really actually creating that picture. That's so wonderful. I'd love to see it.
Oh, yes, please come in town and visit.
Yeah, I really want to see this. That's wonderful. It's very inspirational. Yeah, because it's not the going in the streets and doing the rally. All of that's important. Mobilizing, super important, bringing attention, not normalizing what's going on in the world. But this is what we need to be completely self-sustaining.
Yeah, it is so important for us to be moving that way. And, you know, I still go out of my way to like work with different community groups. It's good to protest, but we need to use it as a tactic for what our goal is that we're keeping in mind. And I mean, you know this because I've talked with y'all about it, right? Of like, we know that this is what we need. We need to raise awareness. We need to build people power, bring folks in and do this. Somebody has to do the work of doing that while also making sure everybody has that communal care. That is so important because it's life or death.
It's life or death. I like that you really have that recognition in a deep way. I think that's what keeps you humble of like, this is life or death. And that's why if I'm not serving this, I have to get out of the way. Like the movement, the people, it's more important than anything about me. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm so feeling inspired by listening to you. And I definitely need to come and actually see it in person.
Yes, can't wait.
How do people find you?
Y'all can find me. I'm like, where do I start? On Instagram, I'm just DJ Hale, DJ Hale __. I know. But I do post about everything that I'm doing. I didn't even mention I ran for office, right?
Yeah, that was just a small little thing that you
That's a
did.
blip.
That's
But you can see about all of the things that I've done with that on my Instagram. That's DJ Hale. On Facebook, it's Hale Morissette, HaleMorrissette. That's my personal page, but you'll see DJ Hale, Life is Hale, and super important to me is Overflow Health Alliance. I got our shirt on because we're having a cookout today. It's Overflow Health Alliance. You'll see 2 pages come up for us. It'll be our main Jacksonville location, and then you'll see Pensacola chapter. And you can reach out to us. We are, as I said, working on sustainability. So if you want to rent our cafeteria to do an event, we'll happily do it. We are accepting donations all the time, accepting volunteers. Come be a part of our family and our sustainability effort.
wonderful. Thank you so much. Join the movement and keep the conversation going at deconstructingtherapy.com. And follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Deconstructing Therapy. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you are able to and would like to help sustain the podcast, you can find us at buymeacoffee.com/deconstructingtherapy to show your support. Thank you for listening.